Hi. They say people have more fear of public speaking than death, actually. And like Thomas, massive round of applause. That was amazing. I'm going to use my 25 seconds for you, buddy. That's worth it. Right. There's a man, and he's standing with a big shovel above his head, and below him is a little dog, and it's looking up with him with this beautiful expression on its face. And there's a crowd all around him, and they're all going, "Why? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he's just standing there going, "I don't know." It's suddenly, the intensity of the moment, his memory has completely failed him. He has no idea what he's doing, even though it, took some preparation. He has a shovel, there's a little dog looking like this. And bizarrely, there are 3 people with white coats in the corner going, "Do it," like this, kind of thing. And the guy... And the guy is there with his shovel, and there's a dog, and then suddenly he just loses his courage. He drops the shovel and runs. He runs, and the crowd parts like the Red Sea. And he runs, and he sits by the side of the road with his head in his hands, thinking, "God, I can't believe, what was I going to do? I have no idea, what was I going to do?" And then he sees someone walking along. He sees someone walking along, and this person looks, very debonair and carefree, like nothing could ever trouble him. And the man looks up from his troubles and goes, "God, you're attractive." And the guy says, "Oh, thank you." He says, "What do you do?" He says, "I'm a storyteller." And the guy, sitting there on the ground, he says, "For a second there, I thought you were someone who could help me." And the storyteller said, "Well, just wait, just wait. Maybe I can. You look like you've got a problem." He says, "Yeah, sure." And he says, "Well, purity of thought. Purity of thought leads to quality of action." And the guy said, "Who said that?" And the storyteller said, "Well, Buddha." He said, "Really?" He said, "No, but it was on one of those big pictures on Facebook." And I thought Buddha may as well. It was around that kind of region. Anyway, so purity of thought leads to quality of action. So the guy's sitting on the ground, the storyteller's up here. And I speak too quickly. And so he's sitting there, la 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 la. And they talk to each other. Clarity. And the storyteller says, "Just sit right there. Just sit right there. And I want you to think about what really drives you." He says, "I haven't got time for this. I haven't got time for this. I have to go, I have to go and see a psychiatrist to figure out what I was doing. I have to go apologize to my wife. That crowd, they're all, I have to run away from them. This is no time for questions." And the storyteller, "Just listen. Like, if you'd seen some of the social entrepreneurs I've worked with, you'd know there's a lot more confusion around than the one you're in right now." So he's there sitting on the ground. He says, "Just, breathe in and think about what really drives you." And the guy says, "I can't think of anything." And he says, "Think of all those times you've been really inspired, when you've been full of life and energy and you've done fantastic things." And he goes, "Oh yeah," and all these images crystallize in his mind. And the storyteller says, "So what do they have in common?" And the guy says, "Oh, they're all, acts of courage and strength." And just like that, he knew not only what drove him, but he knew what he'd been doing, and he ran back to the crowd, and the storyteller said, "Just book me for a workshop." But it was too late, he was running away. He was running away, and the crowd parted, and there's the guy, and he picks up the shovel, and he says, "Listen, guys, I didn't know what I was doing, but now I know why. I know it for myself, and I know it so well, I can tell you. And listen, this dog has a mutant disease. It's about to mutate into a gremlin. And if I don't kill it now, many more dogs are going to mutate. It'd be terrible for all of us." And so the crowd went, "Oh, I get it." So he picked up the shovel and he slammed the dog over the head, but not before it turned into a gremlin. Was just about to bite him, and then he killed it. It was dead, and everyone cheered, and the scientists looked particularly happy. And all of this is to say that the man won the day because of a certain amount of inner knowing that was in him, and he knew his story and therefore saved the world. There's sort of a message underlying this. And he goes back, and the crowd, they all pat him on the back, and he's walking along, and he becomes very famous as a scientist. He bumps into the storyteller again, and the guy says, "I've never seen you to thank you." And the storyteller says, "It's the way I work." And the guy says, "Well, listen, I learned a few things." And the storyteller said, "What?" He says, "Well, actually, if you want to make an impact," said the man, "it's actually, rather than going out there and doing stuff, you want to start by being quite close to yourself." And the storyteller goes, "Yeah, that's exactly it." And he says, "And you know what? You actually turned me by knowing my story. Now, I'm a storyteller." Yeah. And the guy said, "Well, that's fantastic." And they all went back. The storyteller came with him, and it was the crowd. They became so happy with this man that they actually set up a sanctuary for dogs. for genetically non-mutated dogs. So they became so strong, there was never any chance of this genetic mutation taking root in the community ever again. So from just one single story, one man finding clarity, a whole population of dogs thrived thanks to the clarity of one man. And I'd like to thank you all for listening to that.
Thank you very much, Simon.